So yesterday a story got a lot of traction, and I really didn't notice it until I was off the air yesterday about Tua, coach, the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, and Brian Flores, his first coach in the NFL, very intense defensive guy, and pretty enlightening stuff.
To say the least, yes.
Yeah, so Tua, on a podcast, Dan Le Batard podcast, came out and basically said Brian Flores was a terrible person, and every day told me how horrible I was. And it was such a breath of fresh air to have young Mike McDaniel from Kyle Shanahan's system, his coaching tree, who every day wakes up and says, I'm so lucky to have you. He said, basically, what would it be like in your life if one person told you were awful and no good and was just treated you poorly, and then somebody else walked in and said, I can't believe, I'll put my arms around you, how lucky we are. And he called Brian Flores, who's now a coordinator with the Vikings, a terrible person. And you know what I thought of? When there's a term that is used in the NBA, and we use it all the time on this show, we call it Villanova guys. And it speaks very well of Jay Wright and the Villanova program, although now he's moved on to broadcasting. It means not much ego, hardworking, relentless, coachable, no baggage, love the game, great locker room guy. You say Villanova guy, it's like everybody in the NBA wants a Villanova guy. It speaks beyond just the player. It's the culture that they came from. And I think as Bill Belichick looks for a job next year, and this broadcasting thing, that's not what he ever dreamed of doing. There's a new term, and it's used in football, and it's called Belichick guys. They're all combative. They're obnoxious. Flores, Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, Josh McDaniel, Bill O'Brien. They used to call Bill O'Brien apparently Teapot. Brady did and Brian Hoyer did because he boiled over all the time in meetings. And this thing with Brian Flores, it's beyond obnoxious. It's cruel. And it's essentially the opposite of the Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan tree. The D'Amico Ryans, the Robert Salehs, the Kevin O'Connells, they come out, they're collaborative, they get along with people, they're pro-player, Belichick guys. And, you know, Brian Flores probably watched Belichick dog cuss Brady for years. I mean, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, people have come out, even those who are favorable with Belichick, and said, I can't believe what Tom put up with. And it's becoming crystal clear. Sorry, Belichick fanboys and sycophants. It's becoming crystal clear is that Tom Brady and only Tom Brady elevated Belichick and the entire staff. Josh McDaniel couldn't get along with Derek Carr and Jay Cutler. Matt Patricia couldn't get along with Matt Stafford. Who fights with Matt Stafford? Stafford gets along with everybody. This is what it is. Brian Flores called a terrible person. And I don't think Tua is the best quarterback in the league, but he's a nice kid. He's a nice guy. Everybody I know that's ever dealt with him really likes him. Really a professional, works really hard. Villanova guys in the NBA is a great term. Belichick guys in the NFL is toxic. And the entire staff, they watch their mentor. And it's Belichick. Increasingly, these young quarterbacks coming out of college, NIL, they've made $1 million or $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 million. I don't want to put up with this nonsense. Got to be collaborative. You can't be obnoxious and rigid. And for the record, Belichick, better than all his assistants, 11 years in the NFL without Tom Brady as a starter, 1 playoff win. And he's the best of the Belichick guys, Bill. So I don't think as Belichick keeps looking for work, I don't think this is good. I think there's now a term. I think we now just see obnoxious, non-collaborative, authoritative. No thanks. Bill got one interview, one legitimate interview. This story doesn't help him at all. It falls on him to a large degree. It's just like Mikal Bridges. When he went to the Knicks, he benefited from Jay Wright, Villanova, Jalen Brunson. There's no question. Mikal Bridges had a larger market than maybe his 18 to 20 a game you would think would create. But it's like he's a Villanova guy. You know, the company you keep says a lot. The group, the culture you're part of says a lot. Be very careful about it. So yesterday we had Chris Collinsworth on NBC with Mike Tirico. 17 Emmys, great broadcaster, hell of an NFL career. He was talking about Bo Nix. And it got me thinking about a lot of different things as I was driving home after the show. But like the rest of us, Bo Nix so far is 23 of 30, 7 drives, 6 scores. The kid's been unbelievable. 116 passer rating. He had 61 college starts. He just looks like a grown-up. Like, I don't have a problem saying maybe it's too optimistic. I don't think it is. This kid's going to start. He's going to be productive. This wide receiving core between Tim Patrick and Mims and Troy Franklin and Cortland Sutton and the tight ends and the running back, they're going to move the football. Now, I don't know if their defense will be good. It was egregiously bad last year, but the kid can play. And here was Chris Collinsworth talking about what the film, when he looked at it, what it said about Bo Nix.
Bo Nix was the one guy I thought was going to be the upset choice. I thought he was going to go 4th in the draft. He was a quick release guy. The hardest thing to drill into these young quarterbacks' heads is that you have 2.5 seconds to throw the ball. If I were a head coach, I would sit behind my quarterback with a foghorn. And when it got to 2.5 seconds, I would destroy his eardrums, because that's when you're going to get hit in the back of the head of the NFL. Bo Nix played his college football getting rid of the ball on time. He didn't put up some of the gaudy deep ball numbers that these guys did, but he played like it was an NFL game. And that's why you're seeing him have this early success.
And it's interesting. I was saying the Brian Flores stories, they fall on Belichick and the culture he created. If Bo Nix is as good as I think he's going to be, I look at Sean Payton and I think, so 15 years, he turned around the Saints overnight with Drew Brees. He gets a rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, and he crushes it. You know who that falls on? Russell Wilson. I think differently. Like Sean Payton got young Drew Brees, old, immobile Drew Brees, couldn't throw a deep ball Drew Brees. And now Bo Nix is this good, this fast. It makes me think of Russell Wilson and go, when you really inspect it and the dust settles, he had 4 really good years in Seattle. And he was part of the best defense in the league, first or second strongest run game, a coach closer to his prime. The league was more defensive driven, and Russell managed it and was pretty elusive, but never got an MVP vote. I defended him for years. But if Sean Payton and Bo Nix crush this first year, and I watched them for 15 years turn the worst franchise in the league, the Saints, around to a Super Bowl contender virtually 3 out of 4 years, it makes me look, I can't help it. It makes me look at Russell Wilson differently. I went back this morning. You started inspecting it. I defended him forever. 4 great years, 7-3 in the playoffs, 2 Super Bowls, won 1, should have won a second. But from year 5 until today, 8 years, 2 playoff wins. And Pete Carroll and Sean Payton, no thank you. A defensive coach, an offensive coach, veterans, Super Bowls, I'm not interested. So it is funny that as I look at Brian Flores, I think that falls on Belichick, his culture. That's what you get with Bill as he looks for work. I mean, how many examples do I need? The Joe Judge, the Matt Patricias, the Bill O'Briens. And I always kind of liked Bill O'Brien. I do think he works better than others, but you start to form a strong opinion, Belichick guys. And if Bo Nix hits and Drew Brees did with Sean, it's not the greatest for Russell Wilson's legacy. And you start inspecting it, and I always thought he was the engineer for those Seahawks teams. And it looks more like he managed it. Just how it feels for me.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.